Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
She checked into a Chester, Pennsylvania hotel in 2004 and never made it back home. Just hours later, she was found brutally murdered inside her room.
Despite investigators chasing leads for years, her killer has never been brought to justice. More than 20 years later, the question still remains: who wanted Joy dead and why?
This is the unsolved murder of Joy Hayward. Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 35 of Stop Who Does That. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Jenna.
And we hope everyone is having a great week. It's a beautiful day here in Pennsylvania. I don't know about you guys, but it's getting nice and warm today. A little preview of summer. And then we go into the 60s, cold and rainy, just in time for Memorial Day. How about you, Jenna?
I don't know why that always happens. We've been having the most gorgeous sunny weather for the last 4 or 5 days. And then as soon as we slide into Memorial Day weekend, it turns rainy and horrible. I know. It always happens. But hopefully you guys have good plans for the upcoming holiday weekend. It's a long weekend for us and get that extra day, which is exciting. So I hope everyone enjoys that.
Yeah, and I hope while everyone's enjoying their holiday weekend, that you're taking a moment to listen to this episode. So this episode is part 1 of the unsolved murder of Joy Hayward. This is the special project that Jenna and I have been working on in the last few weeks. So just to give you a little backstory, we've been working on building up our social media and, Jenna runs our Instagram. I started the TikTok account and I saw this account, Justice for Joy, and followed it. And the next thing I know, every time I log in, I'm always seeing photos of Joy popping up. And I'm just immediately taken back by how much she shines through these photos and that she looks like somebody I know, but I never knew, right? And I just kept feeling drawn to her account. And I messaged the account and just wanted to learn more about the story and got talking to her sister, Grace, who runs the account. And early in February, March, we kind of talked about doing an episode. And then after we got back from CrimeCon, Jenna and I were really inspired by talking to family members of victims. And I have to say this, when you start your own true crime podcast, it is a little intimidating to talk to victims' families because of how sensitive everything is. And you feel like, I don't know what to say or do, but I think that experience made us feel more comfortable knowing that they don't hate us, right? They don't hate true crime podcasters. Like, we're actually keeping their stories alive.
Yeah, they love to share their story. They were beyond, thankful for us to listen to them.
Yeah, and we noticed how they would light up when they talk about their family member, and that it actually is a source of joy for them to keep talking about it, to keep their memory alive, and that no one's forgetting about what happened to their loved one, because when law enforcement forgets, nothing happens, right? You just get filed under a stack of papers and that's that. So when we came back, I revisited the Joy Hayward case and I reached out to Grace again and I said, we really would like to talk to you and do this episode. And she was more than happy to get on a call and talk to us about it. So the way we're working this is part 1. This is where we're going to talk about the facts of Joy's case, give you guys a bird's eye view of what happened, where things stand now, what you can do to help. And then in part 2, we will release our interview with Grace. So this will be the first time that we've been able to incorporate a family member in the discussion, because we don't just want to be storytellers. We actually want to make a difference. And this is one case where I feel like we all can make a difference here. There's something in my gut telling me we can make a difference here, because the police have ultimately forgotten about this case. They have forgotten the family. They have not reached out to the Hayward family in 12 years, Jenna? Since 2014 was the last time that Grace has heard from a detective in Chester,
It's
Pennsylvania.
unacceptable. Yeah. And that's why we're really excited about this project and the 2-part episode. And the second part is where we'll get more insight from Grace, a little bit about Joy and what's been going on with the Chester Police Department, which is very insightful. And I think you're all going to want to hear about how we always talk about how, great investigative teams are, and the police is doing great work. And we're so thankful for good investigative work. However, in cases like Joy's, this is not good investigative work. The police have dropped the ball and the police have ghosted the family. So this is going to give you a lot of insight into what bad investigative work looks like and the result of it.
And I want to just say this. Ghosting should be only in the dating world. It should not be in the professional world. It should not be in the crime investigation world. And again, we know all about Chester, Pennsylvania. Okay, guys, you don't need to come for us in the comments and be like, Chester's a bad area, blah, blah, blah. We know. But Joy didn't know that. She was from out of town. She did not know that. So please keep that in mind when you're hearing about this case. And also, we understand that they're probably so busy with the multiple crimes that happen daily in Chester that a cold case, well, I don't even want to call it a cold case because it's just a forgotten case, really. I mean, it's the way it is because the time and attention hasn't been consistently given to it. And again, I don't want to assume anything. I'm sure there are detectives that have been working on this behind the scenes. Maybe they know more than what they're letting on to the family. We'll give them that benefit of the doubt. But ultimately, the whole purpose of this is we need you guys, our Pennsylvania team. And again, we have a huge Pennsylvania following. So we need you guys to get this out there because we need Governor Shapiro's attention to this case. And we'll get into later why. But this is only going to be as successful as your involvement, right?
You will make a difference. Your involvement will make this a success.
Yes, because your involvement, our listeners, stop who does that, people. You're going to be key to the success of this project and to get this out there for everyone to hear. Because I was honestly shocked when I saw this on TikTok and was reading about it. And I'm like, I don't remember hearing about this. And that's been part of the problem. All right, let's get into it. In 2004, 28-year-old Joy Hayward was found brutally killed inside a hotel room, a crime scene so violent that it shocked investigators and left her loved ones searching for answers that never came. Detectives worked to piece together Joy's final hours, seeing leads, interviews, and possible suspects, but the case went cold. Who was Joy meeting that night? What happened inside that room? And how does someone commit such a brutal murder and disappear without a trace? This is the unsolved murder of Joy Hayward.
But something happened to the young woman who lived up to her name and seemed to bring joy to everyone.
The violence of it was astounding.
Something horrible.
There have been few murders which have haunted people as much as this one.
Haunting because the man who brutally attacked Joy Hayward is still on the loose, and his reign of terror may just be getting started.
We could be chasing a ghost.
On a freezing night in February, Joy is 100 miles away from her home in Annapolis, Maryland. Here, in the small colonial town of Chester, Pennsylvania, visiting her boyfriend, Michael Lett, in a single rented room. But two's the crowd in the tiny apartment and tempers flare.
She apparently had been drinking that night. They got into an argument and he left.
Joy, furious at Michael, storms off too. She checks into this Days Inn hotel, but never checks out.
In 2004, 28-year-old Joy Hayward was beginning a new chapter in her life. Originally from Annapolis, Maryland, Joy had recently graduated from Salisbury University before moving to Jacksonville, North Carolina, to build a future with her boyfriend. But her boyfriend's work as a subcontractor frequently required him to travel. And in February of 2004, he had been temporarily assigned to Boeing in Ridley Park, Pennsylvania. At the time, Joy had been staying with her mother in Annapolis, Maryland, where she grew up, a little over 100 miles away from Ridley Park. Hoping for a nice visit and some time together, Joy made the drive alone to Pennsylvania on Wednesday, February 11th, 2004. I can see her just missing him a lot, Jackie. He was probably working on jobs in all different places, and she probably took off work that Wednesday, and it was kind of around Valentine's Day. So I'm sure she was really excited about getting to spend some time with him and
Yeah.
taking this little mini road trip by herself, which also I want to point out is like, that's pretty cool that she would just be like up and I'm going to go. Hey, you know what? I'm going to go up there and visit him for the weekend.
Yeah. And I remember Grace saying how they were very adventurous girls
Yeah.
and they would just, get in the car and go. And also, I want to say, like, what a good girlfriend, because she was really trying to make this work, given the fact that he had to travel.
I agree. That's a lot on a relationship.
Yeah.
Where one person is traveling a lot, and you're not seeing each other as often as you might like. And that was also back in 2004, where we didn't have texting really as much. It was very minimal. There was no social media or anything like that. So it was basically like still keeping in touch with calling on the phone, which I'm sure they talked on the phone all the time, but you didn't have as much access to your partner as you would today in 2026.
Right.
So
We definitely didn't have FaceTime.
No. She probably missed him a lot. And
Yeah.
he was like, you know what? I'm going to take this mini road trip up there to see him. And so that's what she did. She decided to take this mini road trip up to see her boyfriend and spend time with him while he was doing this job in Ridley Park. Ridley Park, Pennsylvania is a historic, dense suburban borough in Delaware County, known for its Victorian-style homes, 20-acre central lake, a walkable, community-focused atmosphere. It was founded in the 1870s as a railroad suburb, and it offers easy access to Philadelphia via SEPTA, the train system, featuring a quiet, family-friendly environment with local dining, charming tree-lined streets. So they were definitely going to be having a nice little getaway up here, Jackie. It was February, so it probably was some snow on the ground, made it very romantic.
Valentine's Day is coming up.
And Valentine's Day, and I know, and like your birthday is the 10th of February, so your birthday is pretty close to Valentine's Day too. It's a fun week, no matter if you're a kid or an adult. I don't care what you say. Valentine's Day is still fun. At first, when she got there, the reunion seemed normal when Joy arrived that day, later that day on February the 11th. The couple spent the evening catching up, hanging out, getting some food, and having a few drinks after being apart. And that sounds like the perfect February night in to me. Joy was having that great romantic night that she was looking forward to. But as the night went on, tensions grew. There was some more drinking. The two eventually got into an argument. And nothing, I want to point out, can be resolved rationally when things get to this level. When you're both drinking and an argument ensues, I can just say nothing is going to be resolved in this state. It's just everybody's in an altered state, and it's going to get worse. It's best to just wait. It's at this time that Joy decides to separate herself from her boyfriend and leave the room they had been staying in during his time in Ridley Park. She grabbed her car keys and her cell phone, and according to reports, she also took her boyfriend's cell phone with her, likely because she was angry and maybe she didn't want him contacting her. She just needed to cool off and get some space.
And we did find out that another reason she took the phone is because that phone the boyfriend had was on her cell phone plan. So it was technically a phone she was paying for. So she took that one and her own. He also had a separate phone. So we just want to be clear with that. That's just some information that we were able to get from Grace. Even Grace had said that meant she was done with him.
Well, you know what I'm thinking, Jackie? Yeah. The fact that she took the phone she was paying for on the plan, she also probably took her shit with her, like her bag and all her shit. And she was like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm out. And she took her shit and she took the phones. She took her car keys. It was very late at night. So she probably was like, I'm going to just like check into a hotel and I'm going to go home tomorrow. I'm going back to Maryland in the morning. If I'm putting myself in Joy's shoes, that's exactly what I would have done.
Right.
Separated myself from the argument, separated myself from the boyfriend, and left.
It just shows how responsible she was because she knew to get away. She knew to separate and go to a hotel, get away from him, and get on the road in the morning. That's probably, I would agree, what she was trying to do. So yeah, I mean, like we said, she left entirely. She drove off. She's upset. She's alone. It's the middle of the night. Joy gets into her car and she stopped at the first hotel she could find. But she's probably tired at this point, right? She stopped at the Days Inn Motel on Providence Road in Chester, Pennsylvania. It was about a 10 to 12 minute drive from where she was staying with her boyfriend in the nicer area of Ridley Park. So Chester, like we alluded to earlier, it's not the safest place. It is located along the Delaware River between Philadelphia and Wilmington, and has a long struggled with a reputation for violent crime and was frequently listed among the most dangerous cities in America at the time. Joy, growing up in Annapolis, likely had no idea about this area's reputation when she checked into that hotel that night. She probably was just thinking, I just need to get to the closest hotel, get my bags out, go to sleep, and leave in the morning.
And I want to point out, once again, this was 2004. There was no Google search on your phone. She couldn't just search up.
Oh, yes.
What's the best hotel, like with a good rating or in a good area?
Star ratings.
You couldn't do that back in 2004. No. So she just stopped at the first place she saw. So you just have to keep that in mind. We grew up at that time too. I would have done the same thing. Why would you keep driving past a hotel if there's one right there? She didn't know and she couldn't search it up.
Right. That's a really good point because now even the GPS on your phones, it'll show you like star ratings on where you're going.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. In 2004 definitely didn't have that. I would say like probably 2007 I could try to access the internet on my cell phone and get directions, but it wasn't easy like it is today.
No,
No. So she checked into this Days Inn hotel shortly after 1:30 in the morning, but Joy didn't go straight to her room. Investigators were never able to determine exactly where she went during that time, but about an hour later, she returned to the hotel. Some reports suggest she may have gone out to get more alcohol since investigators did find alcohol inside the room. When Joy came back, she briefly exchanged greetings with the hotel clerk before heading toward the elevator to go up to her sixth floor room. But according to the clerk, Joy wasn't alone. He later told investigators that an unidentified man followed Joy into the elevator. To this day, it's unclear whether Joy knew the man or if he had approached her inside the hotel. Then, around 3 a.m., something alarming happened. Joy called down to the front desk to ask for help. Now, there are differing reports out there that Joy called the front desk 2 times around 3 a.m., but we know for a fact it was at least 1 time at approximately 3 in the morning. Let's remember that Joy did take her boyfriend's cell phone with her when she left, so she could not call him if she was in danger or needed help. The desk clerk asked what was wrong, but Joy reportedly would only say that she needed him to come up to her room. The clerk explained that he couldn't leave the front desk unattended. Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, okay, sir.
A young woman calls you and says they need help.
I'm pretty sure that you're not getting like a mass quantity of people checking into the hotel at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I don't even know what to make of that. Maybe he was scared. I'd like to know how old he was, first of all. Maybe he was young.
And why couldn't you call a housekeeper or somebody else that was there that night and be like, hey, can you go up to room whatever and see what they need?
Or, maybe you should call your boss and be like, hey, boss, I am getting these repeated phone calls from a woman on the 6th floor and she sounds in distress. Like, what should I do?
Right. Or call 911 then. Or just be like, you want me to call 911, which she could have given a yes or no answer. So that way, somebody who was there didn't know what she was doing.
Yeah, I think he really messed up there, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, front desk clerk says he can't come up. Joy hangs up. Unfortunately, that clerk never called her back, never followed up to see how she was doing, left his shift that morning, didn't even bother to say, hey, by the way, can somebody go check on that room? She called last night. Nothing. And while we understand that the desk clerk was probably just following rules and couldn't technically leave the front desk, like we said, like, who would be coming in and out of the hotel at 3 a.m.?
We also learned from Joy's sister Grace that you had to be buzzed into the hotel.
Yeah.
And as Jackie and I know from being in Philadelphia, most hotels are like that after midnight. They do lock. You have to use your key or you be buzzed in.
Right.
Even back in 2004, no delinquents were just walking in from the street because the doors were locked. So I don't know why he didn't respond to those phone calls.
I don't know. I bet you he really regretted his choices later.
It's so hard in hindsight. It's just so tragic because this desk clerk was literally the only eyewitness and the only person that was around when this was all happening. And he could have been the only person that was there to help. And he didn't. And it just goes to show you in a split second how your decisions can affect something like so drastically. So,
no, I agree.
So that's what happened. And he didn't leave his post and she never called back again. So now this is Friday, February 13th in the afternoon. After Joy checked into the Days Inn during the early morning hours of February 12th, then now this is a whole nother day that has gone by. Around 4 p.m. that day, a housekeeper entered Joy's room on the 6th floor to begin cleaning it for the next guest. Almost immediately, she sensed that something was wrong. The maid quickly called for the hotel manager, who entered the room and noticed a foul odor coming from the bathroom. When he looked inside, he made a horrifying discovery. Joy Hayward's body was lying in the bathtub. It was immediately clear that she was dead. The manager backed out of the room and called the Chester Police Department. Officers arrived quickly, but it didn't take long for investigators to realize this was not an overdose or an accidental death. Joy had been murdered. She was officially pronounced dead at 4:50 p.m., and detectives launched a homicide investigation. As investigators processed the room, several details stood out. There were no signs of forced entry, and nothing suggesting a violent struggle had taken place inside the hotel room. To detectives, that indicated that Joy had likely known or at least trusted the person she let inside. Her clothes were neatly folded on the bed. On a nearby table sat a bottle of alcohol alongside 2 drinking glasses, suggesting she had spent time drinking with someone before her death. In an ice bucket filled with water, crime scene technicians discovered 2 partially smoked cigarettes, 1 Marlboro and 1 Newport, which they had carefully located in hopes the killer may have left DNA evidence. We know from Grace that Joy did smoke cigarettes, which many people did at the time in the early 2000s. A lot of people still smoked. But Grace had mentioned she really wasn't sure if that bucket with water was even from Joy. Like it could have been left over from a previous guest.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't the cleanest place.
Yeah.
She also has sent me a lot of reviews from, I guess, several years ago that she collected, and the reviews were not good.
No.
This place was not clean. A lot of people didn't feel safe there.
It doesn't even exist anymore. It's gone.
No. Yeah.
So the bucket, I'm thinking with this cigarette butts, it could have even been like on the balcony or I don't know.
We have no way of knowing if it was from that night or previous guests.
Yeah. So that's kind of the scene that they saw in the room, and her clothes were neatly folded. So it didn't suggest that she even like had time to change into her clothes for the night. Then investigators then focused on the bathtub. Joy's unclothed body was submerged in several inches of water, with a washcloth stuffed into the drain to slow the water from emptying out completely. It was obvious she had been brutally beaten. Detectives believe the attack may have been sexually motivated, though it was initially unclear whether she had been sexually assaulted. The autopsy revealed that she was strangled with several bruises on her arms, legs, and chest. Toxicology revealed there was no illicit drugs in her system at the time of her death. The scene painted a disturbing picture. Whoever had been in the room with Joy appeared to have spent some time with her before the violence began, and even staged her body in the bathtub. Whether that encounter started consensually or whether Joy had been manipulated into a false sense of safety remains one of the haunting unanswered questions in this case, which we learned from Grace, Joy's sister, that Joy was very trusting person. She was very kind, she was generous, and she befriend somebody outside the premises of the hotel and was like, yeah, hey, we can hang out for another hour, come back to my room. It's plausible. I mean, there was definitely somebody in there, and like we said before, the desk clerk is the only eyewitness to see her come in the hotel because there was no camera. The cameras were
they weren't working.
And
They weren't working. Of course.
there was cameras because it was 2004.
Yeah.
Buildings back then definitely had CCTV, but they just weren't working yet. Probably, Jackie, because the hotel was in a horrible place and they were like, they didn't put the money. Obviously, they didn't put the money into the hotel. It was like not in good condition. So I'm not surprised.
They probably were just barely getting by, you know? And
they're not keeping up with the maintenance of security systems. Let me tell you that.
No, they weren't. And of all nights to not be keeping track of it.
So unfortunately, the desk clerk is the literal only eyewitness to see her. And he says that she walked in with an African-American man. That is what he saw. And that is what he says. And
we have a sketch. And this is from the clip we played earlier from Crime Watch Daily, who did an episode on this. I believe it was like sometime in the 2010s era. And nothing's really changed here. But this is the sketch that they gave of this unknown man that followed her in. So
yeah, that is based on his account. It was not her boyfriend.
Yeah.
We have definitely can count him. He wasn't witnessed as going into the hotel at all. So he wasn't in there.
Yeah. So back in Maryland now, how's the news getting back to her family? So what we learned from Grace was that the local police in their hometown in Maryland was alerted of Joy's death by Chester police. And then an officer from their local district showed up at the house and gave Joy's mother, Claire, the death notice. The family at first had zero details about what happened to Joy. They knew nothing. They just thought maybe she passed away in a car accident. But slowly, as the details emerged that she was murdered, the family was obviously devastated because they couldn't think of anyone who would want to hurt Joy, let alone murder her. Friends and family described Joy as someone who truly lived up to her name. She was known for being warm, outgoing, full of life, kind of person who brought happiness into every room she entered. And we learned that she loved dogs so much. She was always bringing home dogs that were strays and always had an animal with her. She even had an animal. She had animals when she lived with her boyfriend in North Carolina.
Yep.
She loved children. She went to college at Salisbury University. She was pursuing her degree in elementary education. So she definitely wanted to work with children and was just a very creative person, loved to color, loved to paint, and things like that.
She was a good big sister, Grace said. We learned she would always include Grace in stuff when she had a friend over. She would let Grace tag along. So I can definitely 100% picture Joy as an elementary school teacher. I think she would have loved it, and she would have been a wonderful teacher and been able to touch the lives of so many kids.
Yeah. She sounded like a really cool big sister. I think there was 6 or 7 years between her and Grace. And I was like, yeah, I would beat my sister up if she touched my stuff. And she said, Joy, just let her wear her clothes. Like, she enjoyed it.
Jackie and I have sisters, and both younger sisters, and we were saying to Grace, "Oh, wait a minute. Are you telling us that Joy actually let you
Yeah.
hang out with her? Because we did not do that with our
Yeah.
sisters." And then we were like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
like that's just the kind of person Joy was. She even let her little sister hang around with them."
Yeah. Well, as detectives dug deeper into her background, they struggled to find anything that pointed toward a motive, as we have been talking about. There's just no obvious enemies, no dangerous relationships in her past, and nothing to suggest that she was living a high-risk lifestyle. The people who knew Joy best said all the same thing. They couldn't understand why anyone would want her dead. Meanwhile, investigators, the days in, like we said, didn't have a working surveillance camera at the time of the murder, which left the detectives with no footage, zero, zip, nada, nothing to show who entered or exited the hotel floor that night. But as we said, the desk clerk gave a description of the unidentified man who followed Joy onto the elevator hours before her death. Interestingly enough, I just wanted to note the ownership of the hotel changed hands shortly after Joy's death and went from a family-owned business to an LLC, likely to prepare for potential litigation, because a lot of people who are listening to this story, and including my dad, was like, well, they could have sued the hotel,
Absolutely.
for not going up there and checking on her, because they could have potentially saved her life.
And no working cameras. That has got to be in violation of a lot of their insurances and stuff. So I mean, definitely that's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yeah. So police were quick to focus on the mystery man as the likely suspect. But at the same time, as we always say, sometimes you need to look at the person closest to you. The husbands, the wives, the boyfriends, the girlfriends. And they did take a closer look at her boyfriend. As investigators worked to piece together Joy's final hours, her boyfriend did fully cooperate with police. He told detectives about the argument the couple got into before Joy stormed out of the room. He admitted Joy had been extremely upset when she left, but he denied strongly having anything to do with her murder. During the investigation, detectives also learned that Joy had taken 2 cell phones with her, her phone and the boyfriend's phone. But strangely enough, neither phone was ever recovered from the hotel room or from Joy's vehicle. But ultimately, crime scene technicians were able to recover DNA from multiple pieces of evidence inside room 605, including the drinking glasses, cigarette butts, and several areas on Joy's body. Investigators determined that all of the DNA belonged to the same unknown male, and it was not the boyfriend. Despite this major breakthrough, detectives hit another frustrating dead end. The DNA profile did not match anyone in the national criminal databases, meaning the killer's identity remained unknown. At first, investigators believed this case would be solved quickly, but as the weeks passed, detectives found themselves battling another obstacle: the silence surrounding violent crime in Chester. Police were convinced that people in the community knew exactly who killed Joy Hayward. But according to investigators, no one was willing to come forward. So as you can imagine, this is a very tight-knit community. And when there's a lot of gangs and types of violence like that, they're not going to talk.
Nope.
So, if it's not the boyfriend, then we need to look at the environment that she was around and someone from that environment. We have the hotel clerk saying, I saw this man follow her in.
He wasn't a guest. He was not a guest.
Yeah.
He was not staying there. So
right, which begs the question, why did the hotel clerk even let him come in, right? So another area of liability for this hotel. I mean, this hotel is like what nightmares are made of from a legal perspective.
It's like the freaking hotel. It's like something out of American Horror Story.
I know, right?
Also, like, we were wondering if when Joy buzzed in, this guy just snuck in like right behind her, which is very plausible, especially because it was cold out. I mean, maybe he was waiting for somebody to get in there so he could get in. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he may have made it seem like he was with her, so the hotel clerk assumed he was her guest. But like, wouldn't you'd think they would have? I don't know, if they had security enough to like buzz people in. I don't know. I don't want to Monday morning quarterback too much, because we can say whatever we want 22 years later. But it's just, I think he probably made it seem like he was with her. Yeah. And was like walking very close to her.
Yeah. Agree. Yeah. So, in a shocking twist of events, just 4 months later, detectives began to fear the killer may have attacked again. On June 22nd, 2004, a 44-year-old woman was waiting alone at a SEPTA bus stop only a few blocks from the Days Inn when she noticed a man riding a bicycle repeatedly circling the area, which is very scary. I'm sure that was something she did not want to be seeing at that time, especially at 7 o'clock in the morning. She was probably freaking on her way to work. And she's like, oh my God, come on. Now this guy's circling, riding a bicycle. At 7 a.m., the man approached her and claimed he had a gun. Terrified, the woman complied as he dragged her into a heavily wooded area nearby. There, the attacker raped her and began trying to strangle her. But before he could kill her, he heard nearby voices, panicked, and fled the scene on foot. Thankfully, the woman did survive, and she was able to provide the police with a description of her attacker. An African-American man around 30 years old, about 5'8", and Jackie, this description was strikingly similar to the unidentified man last seen getting into the elevator with Joy Hayward just hours before her murder. So now we have him attacking again, and eventually DNA testing confirmed investigators' worst fear. The man who raped and attacked the woman near the SEPTA bus stop was potentially the same person who murdered Joy Hayward. Now police knew they weren't just searching for a killer. They were searching for a violent predator who was still out there attacking women. Investigators intensified their efforts to identify the suspect. But once again, they ran into the same obstacle that had haunted Joy's case from the beginning: silence. Detectives believed people in the community knew more than they were saying. But leads dried up, and the investigation slowly went cold. More than 20 years later, Joy's killer has still never been identified. But Joy's family has refused to let her case be forgotten. Her sisters have spent years raising awareness and pushing for answers, even offering what is now a $25,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible. They created online groups, social media pages dedicated to keeping Joy's story alive, like we mentioned at the beginning, TikTok, Facebook. And they're really trying to get her story out there, reminding the public that her murderer is still free. And back in 2004, there was no social media. So Joy's family didn't have access to the same tools that they do today, where they can really try to get her story out there and give it new life and get people kind of sharing it and potentially getting justice for her.
Yeah. And I mean, through talking to Grace, you just can tell how this has devastated the whole family. It's changed them forever. And every year that goes by, it's just building up and building up and building up. And to add insult to injury, you're not getting any updates from the police. They're not answering your calls. They're not answering your emails. And I will say this, guys, we did reach out to them for comments, and they have not even responded to us. So at this point, the Hayward family, what is it that they want? What is it that they want from all of you? And right now, what we would like to do is help the Hayward family get this DNA profile that they have of the suspect over to labs that can use advanced forensic genealogy testing in hopes of finally identifying this unknown subject. What they can do is find a common relative from that DNA profile, work from there to identify who exactly it is that they're looking for. But unfortunately, in these situations, the police department owns that DNA. I mean, we can ask them, hey, can you turn it over, please, to this outside lab? But ultimately, the choice is theirs, and it's their decision. So the Hayward family has been reaching out. They've been asking about this. I even asked about it in my email to them. I asked, hey, would you guys be willing to turn this DNA over on their behalf for forensic genealogy testing? And we got no reply.
And that Grace's, the Hayward family has personally raised the funds themselves to pay for it. Like, they're not even asking the police department to pay for it. They will.
Right. There's costs involved. Yeah. And they understand that. And we know the Chester Police Department probably doesn't have a whole lot of funds. So she knows how to get these grants, to get the money, to get it over to this lab and pay the lab to do the testing. So it's not a question of money here. It's a question of, will they talk to her and come to the table to agree to do this for this family? I mean, my point to them is, if you're not going to work this case, then let's get this information over to somebody who will. What harm does it do to send this DNA off to another lab that the family wants it to go to? So Grace did start going down this path a few years ago. She started a change.org petition urging Pennsylvania officials, specifically Governor Josh Shapiro, to urge the Chester Police to submit the evidence to Parabon Nano Labs, which is the same company that has helped solve numerous cold cases through genetic genealogy. So in this petition, I just want to read you what Grace wrote. On behalf of Joy Hayward, we demand justice, and new advances in DNA technology can finally make this possible. Joy was not the only one who suffered at the hands of this murderer. There is a woman who was also assaulted half a mile away by the same monster. For Joy's loved ones, they know no arrest will ever undo or bring Joy back. But after more than 2 decades of unanswered questions, they still hope for some measure of closure and for the man responsible to finally be held accountable. To this day, investigators continue to believe that there are people who know exactly who killed Joy, and with enough time having passed, we hope that someone may come forward. So given that, we are going to post up the change.org petition. It already has 3,000 signatures. She got a lot of them in the last 3 years, but the more, the merrier. We need to get your name on this change.org petition to Governor Josh Shapiro. Grace has seen this work in other cases where the governor was able to request of the local police to turn the DNA profiles over to outside labs. So that's why this is targeted towards Governor Shapiro. We want to get his attention. So we need you to sign this petition. Jenna and I have both signed it. We need you to know there's a $25,000 reward for anyone who has information on this case that leads to an arrest. And when you see our social media posts on this topic, we want you to share everything that we post, everything that Justice for Joy posts. She has a Facebook page. She has a TikTok. We want you to repost all of these things. And we want you to tag Nancy Grace, Crime Junkies, ABC News. That's the local news in Philadelphia. And then NBC Philadelphia. We want to get as much media attention as we can on this case, because that is really what is going to get the local police's.
Well said. Yeah, well said, Jackie. And I think that given it being 2026 and the access we have to social media and podcasting and getting the word out there, I think that Joy, there is a very, very, very good chance that we can help get this case solved for Joy and the family. And we really appreciate all of your help in doing so, too.
We just want you to know that we don't just want to be storytellers. We don't want to just tell stories about cases that have been open and shut. We want to also help families. And this is a case that's just hanging there in limbo. And we can be the force that helps move this case along for this family. This is something you actively can help with. You're not just passively listening to a story about someone who was murdered and then their killer goes away to jail and that's that. Like, the killer's still out there, and we can get attention. We can get this moving. And I feel like we owe it to Grace, because I keep saying to her, you're doing an amazing job as a sister, that you have not given up. In 22 years, you have not given up. She posts like 3, 4, 5 times a day on TikTok, photos of Joy. And it got my attention because every time I log in, I'd see it. So she hasn't given up. And she said, I know my sister would have done the same for me. And if any of you have a sister out there, you have to relate to this.
And we will hear more from Grace in part 2 of our episode, which will be dropping next week.
Yes. And we're really, really excited to give her this platform, give her the mic, let her tell you about Grace, what she meant to her, and how this case has really impacted her and the family. Hopefully that gives you more of a sense of the reality of the situation, because a lot of times in true crime, you hear stories about these people, but it doesn't hit home in the same way as if you heard it from a family member.
Well said. Yeah. So we thank you all for listening, and we look forward to catching up with you in part 2 next week.
And stay looking for those spams of Joy Hayward, because we're going to be spamming you all with her photos. And I'm telling you, you can't look away. She draws you in.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in episode 2. Bye. Please enjoy this song by Alanis Morissette, one of Joy Hayward's favorite artists.
I want you to know that I'm happy for you. I wish nothing but the best for you both. I know the version of me. Is she perverted like me? Would she go down on you?